What is up? Welcome to another edition of the PFF podcast. I'm Mike Renner. Joining me, as always, on the Early Week podcast is Sam Monson. And like I'm going to do on every podcast now until the draft, I'd like to push PFF's brand new product, Draft Pass. Go to profootballfocus.com/draftpass17. Draft Pass 1.0 is out. It is basically, if you guys remember our premium stats for the NFL, it is that, but for every prospect for the NFL draft coming up in April. We have signature stats on them. We have nice graphs and stuff on their player profiles.
Spider graphs.
A bunch of different stuff for them. So go ahead and check that out. It's a cool product. I use it regularly for my articles and all the stuff I need to do here at work. So go ahead and check it out. profootballfocus.com/draftpass17. But again, this isn't the draft podcast. This is the NFL one. And, well, there really hasn't been anything going on in the past week in the NFL. I declared free agency over last Monday, and since then, really not much more has happened in terms of big free agency signings. Dante Hightower went back to the Patriots, Dontari Poe to the Falcons, but really, that's about it. There is, though, however, a handful of big names still available, although they might not be what they once were. We have guys like Jay Cutler, Colin Kaepernick, Nick Mangold, DeAndre Levy, Jamal Charles, Adrian Peterson, Darrelle Revis, even Michael Floyd still available, still unsigned. So, Sam, are any of these guys worth taking a chance on, or are any of them, going to get the contracts that they're probably looking for at the moment?
No. I mean, I think a lot of the reason guys are available late in free agency is because they want a deal that no one wants to give them. So, and it's not just big name guys that are like that as well. Even guys that look like being top tier free agents sometimes last way into free agency because they want the crazy deal that no one wants to give them. So, a lot of people had Jonathan Hankins as one of the best available free agents all through the process, but he can't find the deal that beats the standing offer the Giants had on the table, which clearly isn't what he wants to be earning. And I think the same was kind of true with Dontari Poe. Poe wants this big money, multi-year contract he wants a Calais Campbell deal, but nobody wants to give him a Calais Campbell deal because they don't know if he can do that. So he had to take the 1 year, $8 million deal to prove it, to prove that he's got pass rushing chops, that he's worth that big money contract next year. So I think some of that is what we're seeing here. I think Adrian Peterson probably wants a deal higher than people are willing to give him. The interesting thing about this group is I think a lot of them are, a few of those guys I think are done, totally done, and just shouldn't be signed. But other guys I think have some things in the tank. It's just, they're not necessarily what they once were. So, an Adrian Peterson I think could still be a valuable player. He just isn't this 3-down back, workhorse, a Zeke Elliott, the way a lot of teams would like a guy to be if they're going to pay big money. So if he's willing to lower his price tag to the point where that becomes, a sensible deal again, suddenly I think he'd get a lot of interest.
Yeah, the Adrian Peterson saga is very interesting to me because there's almost no doubt in my mind he's asking for a contract around $8 million a year, I'd say, at this point, just based on what he's earned in the past, making, upwards of over $10 million for the last handful of years as a running back, and thinking, in his mind, he's still probably the best running back in the NFL, even though last year on the field, that wasn't even close to the case. And when you look at running back contracts, though, no one wants to deal out any money to running backs anymore. People are terrified, even though people are still drafting them highly in the draft, people are terrified to sign running backs these big money deals because at the moment there are only 4 running backs making over $7 million a year. One of those is Doug Martin, who might get cut because of his contract so bloated at the moment. Only 4 other guys make over $6 million a year. One of those is Ezekiel Elliott, just based purely on his draft slot, making that much. So the running back position, really not one that I would go out and give a guy who's over 30 years old anywhere near what Adrian Peterson's probably asked for at the moment. I don't know if I would sign him for more than even what Eddie Lacy got. I think that's about the most I'd even go for him, and that might even be too much for me.
I mean, his contract has been so completely out of whack with the rest of the running back market for years. I mean, he was scheduled to make like $18 million or something crazy this year. Right? That was his cap figure for the Vikings. So, no wonder they cut that the hell loose. But the point is, He's been on ludicrous money. And I think the only guys that are in any kind of danger of getting reasonable big money for running backs are guys that you know can be 3-down players. And I think Adrian Peterson can actually still be a really, really devastating ball carrier. But the problem is he is not a 3-down player. He can't pass protect, and he is almost no factor as a receiver. You know, we talk about guys like David Johnson and Le'Veon Bell and how those guys are so good at being a receiver that they can be used as legitimate wideouts, not just a guy that can catch the ball out of the backfield. You can line those guys up at wide receiver and they're a mismatch for the guy trying to cover them. I mean, Adrian Peterson can barely function just as a standalone receiving option out of the backfield. The only stuff that he ever catches is basic screens and little flare routes and nothing else. So he's become a 2-down player in a league that is trending the other way. So even 2-down, you know, we talk about 2-down players, whether it's running backs or linebackers. And to be honest, that's probably a misnomer because those guys are more like 1-down players now. So Adrian Peterson is becoming this 1-down player in a league where that just doesn't do you a lot of good.
No, if I'm taking a chance on a running back in free agency that is older at the moment, it's definitely going to be Jamal Charles. He's a year younger. In his last season, I mean, I know he's had back-to-back seasons that were, you know, shortened to injury, but when he was healthy in 2015, he still looked like the Jamal Charles of old. So he's a year removed from that. And like you said, he can do far more in the pass game than Adrian Peterson can. He's not really scheme limited either. He can do line up and run any sort of concept you want him to run, has good vision and that sort of stuff. So if I'm taking a chance on one of those guys, it's going to be Jamal Charles. But even still, like I said, the way running back contracts are going, I'm not sure I'm even going out and taking that chance.
No, I mean, you want Jamal Charles on your roster. The only question is, what kind of deal can you sign him to that is not a problem if he gets hurt after 3 weeks? Because that's your concern with Charles. Adrian Peterson, the problem is you want him carrying the ball, but he's so limited in terms of what you can do. Not just the pass stuff, but he also, for the Vikings, has basically only ever run from under center. He doesn't like running from the gun, which is what every team is in now. So not only can you not use him on passing downs, but even on the running downs, he limits the kind of formations you can line up in. So, you know, you want the ball in his hands, but it's becoming harder and harder to actually get it into his hands in a way that fits the rest of your offense. Plus, he obviously wants some kind of crazy contract. Of that list of guys, the one I think that's most intriguing would be Nick Mangold. If you're a team that has had problems at center, and there's, you know, several of those kicking around the NFL. Center is one of those positions I think that you don't appreciate a decent one until you're stuck with a terrible one. And it's not that that center is bad. It's that it can really create havoc with the entire offensive line. And Mangold isn't what he once was, which used to be the best center in the NFL, but he's still okay. And I think he could come in and solidify a terrible center position for a team in the NFL and immediately kind of fix some problems.
I'm going to go ahead and disagree on the player that I'd want the most out of this list. I think the player I'd want the most is probably DeAndre Levy. I know he's had just some devastating injuries over the past 2 years, but he is still young for the linebacker position. He's not the point where you'd think his body should start breaking down. He's only 29 years old. He should have, 3 to 4 good years in front of him at that age. And he was so athletic and dynamic before that even taking a step away from him, I think he's still going to be a competent linebacker. I know it's not a great position it's not a huge need position. It's not a position that's going to change your defense, but as a stopgap type of position for a team that really needs a linebacker, I think that he could actually be a positive, above average type of player. Whereas all these other guys, I just struggle to see them being that.
What about the quarterbacks, Cutler and Kaepernick in particular? Because those are guys.
You had to bring up the quarterbacks.
I did. Those are guys who have been starters in the past, and they haven't been good starters. Actually, Cutler has been a good starter, but that was a long time ago. Actually, so is Kaepernick, I guess, if you're going back to 2012. But neither of them in the recent past have been good starters. So the obvious kind of move is that those guys become backup quarterbacks. But again, you get into this, what are they asking for? Contract wrangle stuff. Do you think for a start there's any chance that either of those two guys get signed on as a legitimate out and out backup. This is what you are from day one. You're not coming in to compete. You're not a bridge quarterback. You're not, a last gasp hope. You are coming in to back up. So how good would they be at it?
I could theoretically see Colin Kaepernick doing that because, but the thing is with Colin Kaepernick, you're almost only going to be he's almost limiting himself only to positions offenses where you already have a running quarterback, mobile quarterback under center as your starter, because no offense coordinator really wants to, Buffalo. It seems. Yeah, that's what I say. No offense coordinator that wants to have a backup that they have to sort of change their game plan to fit. You want a backup that's almost every team, it seems like, wants a backup that's the exact same style as their starter, even if that's, like I've said in my hot take earlier in the season, that's crazy and it's only going to cost you games because your backup's going to, by nature, suck at the position if he's the backup. So why not get a guy who's a completely different style, run a limited offense, but have a guy who can, be a change of pace in that. I don't know. That's my gripe with NFL offensive coordinators. But just the way it is, he pretty much has to go to a situation like that. So like you said, Buffalo, Seattle, not a lot more situations where he could go to that would, be an automatic fit like that. But I could see him taking a backup job. Jay Cutler, on the other hand, I don't see his pride letting him go somewhere where he's going to be a backup. I just don't think that's in the cards for him. But at the same time, I still think he's one of the 32 best quarterbacks in the NFL and could get a starting job somewhere.
Kaepernick fascinates me because he's obviously, that 2012 season was really good, but it was an offense that was tailored to fit his strengths. Jim Harbaugh, I think, did a fantastic job of kind of twisting an offense to function via what he does well. And as soon as he departed or just kind of tried to broaden the scope and make Kaepernick into more of a well-rounded quarterback, the wheels fell off and everything's been terrible since then. But Aaron Rodgers has the all-time best interception percentage in NFL history. 1.5% of his pass attempts are intercepted. Number 2 on that list, all time, is Colin Kaepernick, tied now with Tom Brady. So those are 2 interesting names to have your name alongside in any scenario. Now, obviously, nobody is saying, this is back to the rant about how you can compare players without saying they're the same. Nobody is saying that Colin Kaepernick is Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady, but he doesn't turn the ball over in terms of interceptions. And that is one of the single biggest problems with mediocre to bad quarterbacks, is that they just put you in a hole by slinging the ball to the opposition on a regular basis. And that's really, really hard to dig your way out of if you're not amazing on the other end. So, that part is good. He can obviously do things on the ground in the running game that most quarterbacks can't do. If you don't need him to be the guy, to be this to be this franchise quarterback and lead the offense, if you just need him to be a backup who can come in and, like you say, normally your backup sucks anyway. So you've got to assume that the regular game plan has kind of gone out the window when the backup comes in. There can't be that many better options out there to come into a game where you can just say, okay, now you just have a couple of things to do and don't turn the ball over. And that's what we're going to try and do for the next game or two.
No, I agree. I mean, he definitely could be. He's definitely a competent, one of the 64 best quarterbacks in the NFL. But I've heard people try to swing like he wasn't that bad last year because of, like you said, his interception ratio. He threw 16 touchdowns to only 4 interceptions last year, but it was so far from the case. I mean, he had 15 for us turnover-worthy throws, so he could have had as high as 15 interceptions. He just was not good last year. I know he had a little talent around him, but let's not try to swing it as if this guy is still what he was back when he came into the league under Harbaugh. Like I said, I don't think I would take him as a backup because he's better than a ton of backups in the NFL. But like I said, offensive coordinators, that doesn't go into their thought process. Their thought process is, can this backup run my whole offense? Whatever. Can I not have this drop off? When it's just not the thinking I would have, but that's just the way the NFL has it seems like forever now.
Now that we've said it, I really want to see him in Buffalo. They could do that thing that we've been talking about for years, where you just get like 5 running quarterbacks, run the proper option offense, and it doesn't matter if the starter goes down.
They could put Tyrod at running back on plays and just double pass.
Full trick offense.
It'd be fun to watch. I don't know. I mean, that wouldn't make a lot of sense, but it makes more sense than EJ Manuel as your backup.
Yeah, it's not going to happen unless he takes like an Adrian Peterson-sized pay cut, though, which is another problem.
Yeah. I do want to talk about one more guy in free agency who's not a big name, but to be fair, there's not really any talent left. And I think this guy legitimately has the most talent of any free agent left on the market, or who could actually impact a team the most of any free agent on the market. And it's Brandon Boykin, the cornerback who has basically been forgotten about after he tore his pec last year with the Chicago Bears, after he was kind of benched the year before with the Pittsburgh Steelers, after Philadelphia just threw him to the Wolves basically for nothing, got rid of him after he was one of the best, if not the best, slot cornerback in the NFL through his first 3 years with the Philadelphia Eagles. I think some team could legitimately get a weapon defensively with him, and I have not heard his name once this offseason. What happened?
Completely forgot he existed until you brought him up before this podcast.
That's what I'm saying. That's why honestly, I wanted to talk about it.
Now that you said it.
He's 26 years old right now.
Yeah. I mean, there was clearly something weird about him anyway, in that, like you say, the Eagles just traded him away for nothing, basically. They didn't really want him. The Steelers were forced to put him on the field, basically.
Over Antoine Blake. Yeah. Had Antoine Blake starting over him, who was legitimately the worst cornerback in the NFL that year.
Yeah.
Besides guy whose name I'm forgetting, who wasn't actually Brandon Browner. But yeah, legitimately awful.
No, yeah, I mean, so that didn't make any sense. Trading him away for virtually nothing didn't make any sense.
Conditional 5th round pick is what they did.
Yeah, there's obviously something kind of weird with Brandon Boykin. I doubt it's just a size thing, because there's plenty of small corners in the NFL. I mean, he's small, but he's not like, it's not like he's Darren Sproles out there. There's plenty of really small guys out there his size that are still playing well. Almost none of them playing as well as he has consistently every time he's been on the field, and they don't get the same level of kind of hate treatment that he's been shown from teams so far. It honestly wouldn't surprise me at this point if the NFL is the same as we were, that it's like he's just forgotten about. The guy that went on IR without ever playing last year was pretty much unceremoniously dumped by the Steelers the year before. You barely saw the field then until they were forced into it. It honestly wouldn't shock me if NFL teams had kind of forgotten that guy's out there as well.
I just think the slot cornerback position gets severely underrated in terms of its importance. I know that doesn't have the sort of volatility that the outside cornerback position does in terms of, you don't have to worry about getting beaten deep. It's a different skill set to some degree. But it's the position that probably gets targeted, I don't want to say the most, but it's very important on 3rd downs, 3rd and 6s, because those are the routes that move the change. Those are the positions that get targeted that move the change and keep drives alive. If you have a guy who can change that, who can affect those plays, that has a lot of value. That will kill a lot of drives over the course of a season. And Boykin was that kind of player in his prime. 2013, his second year in the league, 6 interceptions, 10 pass breakups, only a passer rating of 64.6 allowed. I mean, he was legitimately a game changer at the position, and in a cornerback market that's incredibly inflated at the moment, when you have guys who are, not even top 15 cornerbacks making $14 million a year, just signing him for anything at this point, which he probably would sign for about anything, I have to think that this is a move that someone will be happy they made if someone does go out and sign him at some point.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the slot cornerback position, it's very heavily targeted, and it's very difficult to stop people catching the ball because you're in space, you've got a two-way go. The chances are he's going to get a yard of separation before you can do anything about it. So the best you can do is try and cut him down for minimal yardage. So typically you're going to give up 60% of passes thrown at you to be caught, and that's pretty much bang on what his career completion rate is, 60.6. But it's quite easy for them to then rack up huge amounts of yards after the catch and score touchdowns and all that kind of thing. And the only way you can offset that is by making plays yourself, either with interceptions or breaking passes up and all that kind of thing. So Boykin's career passer rating into his coverage is 78.9, which doesn't sound great when you're talking about outside corners that can dip into the 40s and even the 30s when, Revis in his prime. But only, 5-6 corners would have been better than that in the slot this past year. There were 20 guys with a passer rating of over 100 into their coverage in terms of slot corners this past year. So, those are seriously good numbers. His grade, I think, has been not just positive, but fairly significantly positive in every single season that he was playing. And it's really just the fact that he didn't play last year and he's undersized. That guy should be on a roster already. And if any personnel guys listening to this, go look him up.
Exactly. Yeah, go sign Brandon Boykin. And Boykin, if you're listening, feel free to throw some our way when you do get signed. We want you on a roster. All right, moving on from some free agency to the next biggest news in the NFL. And if this even qualifies as news, but the competition committee set to meet and vote on some new rules, and none of these are official that they're going to vote on them, but they're all rumored too. So we're going to let you know some of the ones that are rumored to be voted on here. They are going to vote on whether or not they can leap over the line of scrimmage. The Shea McClellan play, jumping over the line of scrimmage, Cam Chancellor on field goals. Whether or not they're going to allow that off-ball linebacker to clear over the long snapper and block field goals. I think it's ridiculous that they're even contemplating voting on this. No one's ever gotten injured on that play. It seems like a completely legal play and completely football play, but they're thinking about banning it. They're thinking about giving automatic suspensions for certain hits, no matter, again, another one where gray area seems dumb. We'll see if what that ends up with that. And they're also thinking about voting on whether or not to make preseason and regular season overtimes only 10 minutes long. I don't see how that's going to help anyone, but that's the competition committee. They seem to every year just suggest dumb rules just to change something. I feel like.
Yeah, they seem to be. They're really doing God's work there at the competition committee. They seem to come up with incredibly ridiculous ways of trying to fix things that just don't need fixing.
Yeah, exactly. Fix. And no one wanted it in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, so they've been tweaking, field goals and basically special teams. Everything about special teams they've been tweaking and pinching and adjusting for years to try and do who knows what. Prevent injury is the supposed goal of all this, but so they've stopped people being able to can the center. Then you can't overload one side of the line. Now apparently you can't jump clean over the center, which is the only way you're actually allowed to do it, because if you touch the guy in the air, it's already a penalty. So it's only legal if you get all the way over the top of the guy without touching him, at which point, what is the harm? How is that a problem?
And exactly. It goes back to they're trying to make it take dangerous plays out of the game, yet it's such a dangerous play that no one's ever gotten hurt doing it. But they're going to start banning end zone fades because
the only way it isn't already illegal is if he successfully achieves it, in which case what you're doing is preventing the off chance that he lands badly and twists an ankle, which is ridiculous. The only thing you are doing, though, is unfortunately too late for him, is saving poor old Linval Joseph's blushes, because Shea McClellan successfully attempted the leap over the line and blocked the field goal. So for some reason, a 330-pound nose tackle in Linval Joseph must have seen that in the highlights package, thought, I could do that. Took a stab at doing that and landed pretty much face first. It was one of the most miserable attempts at blocking a kick I've ever seen in my life.
To be fair, Linval Joseph did have a 30-inch vertical at the combine.
Yeah.
It's not bad for a 328-pounder.
I think, I haven't gone too far into the stats, but I'm pretty sure most, even long snapper centers, are taller than 30 inches.
You get a little running start. You get a little higher than that with a running start. But
he didn't, though. He just stood at the line and tried to leap over the top of it.
He obviously thought a little higher of himself than need be. Well, that's it for the... actually, we want to suggest some of our own.
Well, hang on. We've only done the leaping over the line thing. Let's go through these point by point.
Okay.
So the suspensions thing is interesting because I'm kind of in favor of that, but only if it's instead of fines. It won't be though. It'll be like in addition to being fined $30,000, we're also going to suspend you for this.
And it's going to be terribly. Yeah, terribly.
So that I don't
administered.
Like. The overtime thing, right? Why do we even need overtime in preseason?
That's a good question.
Nobody wants to play preseason overtime anyway. So
I mean, it almost never goes there because someone goes for two or does something. It's not necessary.
Going to overtime. So as long as we're like limiting overtime, let's just get the hell rid of it. Nobody wants it in preseason.
I agree with that. But then 10 minutes in regular season, you're just begging for more ties. It's like people hate ties, and you're just going to have more of them.
Yeah, they need to fix overtime generally. And that isn't the way of doing it, to make less time on the clock whilst trying to give everyone a chance to score.
Do you have a competition committee suggestion that'll fix overtime, Sam?
Not that'll fix overtime. I don't like college overtime. I know a lot of people want to bring in the college overtime rules. And
I don't either.
I think it might be better. Or, no, it might be a more fair way of doing it than the NFL's way at the moment. But I don't like that anyway. I'm a big fan of penalty shootouts in soccer. Because you get the same kind of thing where people go, it's not really soccer, it's deciding a game in a way that isn't really the game, which is kind of silly because it is. It's at least a component of the game. So my suggestion, and obviously this is a little bit out of left field, but you take the penalty shootout idea, right? Mm-hmm. And what you do is you pick one player on offense, one player on defense, and they basically run a tackle drill in a channel. So it's goal line. You either score with the football or you get tackled short of the goal line in a channel, 10-yard channel. Back in the day, it's Adrian Peterson versus Patrick Willis. Let the better man decide the game.
I think I like the idea of a PK style in terms of a back and forth. You get multiple chances, but if you just made that 2-point conversion, so 5 2-point conversions, whoever converts the most wins.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah,
because then you're not adding like additional stats that kind of ruin college stats to where a guy can have 10 touchdown passes because it went to 6 overtimes, which makes no real, which would just hurt NFL stats. But it's all 2-point conversions, and it's just from the 2-yard line, 5 tries. Whoever gets the most out of that, you go back and forth. I think that'd be pretty. I
like that actually.
Pretty dramatic too. So
I think that's the best.
That's my suggestion.
I think that's the best overtime suggestion I've actually heard, and that disappoints me because I was a big fan of my one-on-one in the channel idea.
No, you just inspired. I literally just came up with it right now. So you just inspired me with the PK idea.
Nice.
Because I don't usually watch soccer to get inspired, but it's a good. I think that would work. I have more suggestions, though. I have another suggestion that I think would work as a new rule that I want to see also, and it's a 1-point. It's a 1-pointer.
Uh-oh.
If you punt, you get a free punt. You just declare that you're going for a free punt. A guy can punt it for 1 point, so you add some distance onto the end of the game. Tries. You're down 1 point at the end of the game. You can start taking them from midfield. You can start having a chance at putting it through the uprights. I think that would add a lot more drama to the game. If you're down 1, if you could still have a chance of tying if you're super far away.
So punting it through the uprights gets you a point.
Punting it through the uprights, 1 point.
But you can only do it. You can only do it once, or you get
you have to declare. You just have to declare a free punt, and it's like a dead play. No one else on the field. He stands at that. You can't go past that yard line.
But you can do it at any time, like multiple times, or just once.
No, anytime during the game, you declare a free punt, and then if you don't hit it, it goes back to that yard line. If you do hit it, it's a kickoff.
Yeah, I'm not wild on that one. I think you've just run that right off the rails. The thing that I think I want to fix is ban icing the kicker. Easy. Simple.
Oh, what?
Call a timeout before a kick. Done.
If they're in field goal formation?
No.
I don't mind that.
Can't do it. I'm sick of it. Icing the kicker is dumb. It doesn't work, and it's annoying. It just wastes everybody's time. So ban it.
Fair enough. I can get on board with that because, it's annoying. But
literally the only people that like icing the kicker are coaches, and statistically it doesn't even work. So they're just literally wasting everybody's time. Yeah.
No, I can get on board with that. What else you got?
Dumping the jihad against celebrations. Like,
Oh, I mean, that's like
the league was just
that's
better.
not even a hot take.
The league,
yeah.
That's not even, no, it literally isn't.
That's what I'm saying. That's a universal.
It's sending it to the competition committee and letting them fix whatever they messed up years ago. Celebrations are better. Everybody, look, everything T.O. did when he scored a touchdown was better than anything anybody else does now because he was allowed to celebrate properly. You know, whether it's the popcorn, whether it's going to the Star and getting himself knocked over by celebrating, whether it's, the Sharpie, everything. All the best celebrations in NFL history are banned now. You can't do them. And the other thing is, it's not even like for a touchdown. If you spiked the ball after getting a first down, you're getting a flag for it. The whole thing is just ridiculous. They need to walk that back and by serious steps. Giant, freaky, monster steps to get back to some sort of normality where you can actually be human again.
No, I mean that everyone is on board with that. You're not alone in your take.
Excellent. And the only other one I've got is getting rid of fining players for general football play penalties. The stuff that isn't malicious, it's not unsportsmanlike conduct. It's just you mistimed a hit, or you grabbed a face mask, or stuff like that. There's no reason to be taking money out of a guy's pocket for a football play that went slightly wrong.
Sam, I am disappointed. You did not go nearly hot enough with these suggestions. Those both fall under the no duh category because those are both. Everyone agrees on both of those.
Except
no one.
The competition committee.
I know, but those get harped on every single Sunday and every single week during the regular season. That they know that they suck at both those rules, yet they haven't changed it. If they haven't changed it by now, Sam, you harping about it on this podcast isn't going to start anymore.
Look, I'm just trying to fix
momentum behind it.
We are needle movers at this podcast, and this is the best way I know how. You've got to make your voice heard and hope that it gets to the ear of the right person.
Yeah. All right. Well, I agree on both. Obviously, I think our listeners agree on both, but not hot enough. Come better next time. Come better right now, Sam. We'll move into the segments here, and what grinds your gears? Redeem yourself, Sam.
It could be any of the things above, like just any of those.
You better not just
rules.
Start. Yeah, you better not. You better have something better than just.
I really don't. I was going to go with one of those, but then I forgot that I was going to use one of those, so I used them all up with the competition committee thing. But look. This is a great game. This is why we're all doing this. And the competition committee, if anything, appear to be incrementally ruining it with every change they make. So let's identify where we screwed up. Let's walk the thing back 15 years and let's make the game better. Done.
Yeah, I mean, I can get on board with the take, but again, you came really bland with the take. So it grinds my gears. It grinds everyone's gears, but it's ground our gears for 6 years or whatever, 8 years now, and no one's. They have them changing it is not anywhere near on the horizon. So we're just going to have to deal with it, and it sucks. But that's the NFL these days. All right, now let's move on to explain this. And since in honor of the competition committee, we're going to explain the catch rule to you guys. I'm going to start off with
explain.
I'm going to start off with an excerpt from the rule book in case you've never read it. This is great radio, by the way. Here it is. A completed pass. A player who makes a catch may advance the ball. A forward pass is complete or intercepted if a player who is inbounds A, secures control of the ball in his hands or arms prior to the ball touching the ground, and B, touches the ground inbounds with both feet or with any part of the body other than his hands, and C, maintains control of the ball after A and B have been fulfilled until he has the ball long enough to clearly become a runner. A player has the ball long enough to become a runner when, after his second foot is on the ground, he is capable of avoiding or warding off impending contact of an opponent, tucking the ball away, turning upfield, or taking additional steps. That is the catch rule. And then, in case you weren't surprised by this, there's 6 more items underneath that to define what a catch is. There's like 350 words describing a catch. And it really is. The biggest one being item 1, a player going to the ground, which is basically the Des Bryant rule that's still on the books. Sam, you want to attempt to make heads or tails of this?
All right. So, the simple thing is, a catch in the NFL is not a catch as you or I know it. if I throw you something and you catch it, it's pretty simple. Most people know what that looks like. Not in the NFL. You can't just catch it. You've got to do other things. You've got to have the ball in your hands and or hand. You've got to get both feet down or some other part of your body. So, the great John Madden saying and then book, 1 knee equals 2 feet. If you get your knee down and nothing else, you're still down. That counts as 2 feet in NFL math.
Yes, that was anything other than a hand. So hand, feet, you have to have 2 of those, but any other part, just literally any other part.
One ass cheek.
Top of your
down.
head. Yeah.
And then the thing that screws everybody up is what happens after those things have been completed. So the ball in your hands, 2 feet down, that's what everyone else can see. That's obvious. Then you've got to do this great mythical bit of crap that the NFL keeps putting in and messing up to screw this whole thing up, which is have the ball long enough to clearly become a runner. It used to be, make a football move or clearly make a football move, which was just about as vague and bullshitty. And really, nobody knows what that is. It's an entirely arbitrary gut feel thing from the officials that did this guy have enough time. It's basically a time thing now. Did he have the ball long enough to be able to tuck it away or turn on field or make any of these football moves that they were talking about before and have taken out of the book, or take, a third or a fourth step? It's ridiculous. The NFL catch rule is absolutely farcical, and it only gets more complicated when you talk about going to ground or sideline catches or end zone catches and all this kind of stuff. It's just unnecessary.
I will say this, and this might be a hot take, but 2 things. It might be 2 hot takes, but one, I don't actually dislike the NFL catch rule. I think it's very good. I think I've never heard a better suggestion than what we have at the moment. Anything else would lead to either a lot more incomplete passes or a lot more fumbles.
Why are those bad things?
I just don't think you want a ton of fumbles when a guy catches it, then gets it immediately raked out of his hands, wide receivers. I just don't think you want that. I just wouldn't want more fumbles like that. I think that's not how the game should go. So it would lead to a lot more fumbles, a lot more incomplete passes. I don't want that. I think the rule as is right now is fairly good. And 2, if you actually read every item in the rule book about what a catch is, you can predict about 95% of challenges which way they're going to go. I know there's still those 5% that Mike Carey is reviewing, but I think you predict about 95% of the catches in the NFL when they're going to review which way they're going to end up going.
The rule is immediately better by just deleting clause 3.
But the thing is,
the part about the clearly becoming a runner part, or all that rubbish with the the football move, it's fixed. You catch the ball is in your control, and you get 2 feet down. Done. You have caught the ball. End of story.
Well, that was Explain This, and I thought we did a good job. I thought usually people temper start to flare when you talk about the catch rule, and we stayed level-headed for the most part. And yeah, that's the catch rule, though. And now, since we're still on the rules, we're going to move on to some historical power rankings. And these are more just current day power rankings. And they are the 5 dumbest rules in the NFL, Sam. I'll start off with mine. And number 1, we already touched on, and that's any celebration penalty, which is, it's just ridiculous that you get dinged for celebrating when it's a dead ball. There's nothing going on. You have this gap in play. It's not like it's a free-flowing game that continues. Just do whatever the heck you want. Number 2, low hits on the quarterback. I hate it when a guy trips, falls into a quarterback, and he gets a 15-yard penalty on something he cannot control himself. High hits on the quarterback you can control to some degree. Don't put your hands up. Don't go swinging up there because you know that that's a penalty. But low hits, you're falling. You're literally – people fall routinely when rushing the passer on the line of scrimmage, when being blocked, and it gets called, and it's ridiculous. Number 3, I have the fact that the clock does not stop after a delay of game penalty outside of 5 minutes. You have to take 3 delay of game penalties before a clock stops. That makes that's just, you can run the clock for, that would be 120 seconds, 2 minutes of clock time before the clock actually stops Teams don't do it nearly as much as they should. I don't think I've actually ever seen a team do it. But the fact that you could do it is still ridiculous. The fact, number 4, the difference between running into the kicker and roughing the kicker. If you hit the kicker, it should be an automatic first down. I mean, you hit I see so many running in the kickers where it's literally just the arbitrary decision. It should be like a face mask. You do it, it's a 15-yard penalty and a first down. Don't hit the kicker, basically. And then number 5 is just any changes they've made to kickoffs basically neutered the play. It is no longer, it's a joke at the moment. It's a waste of our time to watch teams do kickoffs now. Just don't have it. Just either don't have the play or put it back to the way it was. All right. That's my top 5.
I had a couple of those. The other one is anything involving eligible receivers is just ridiculous. The idea that guys have to come in, report eligible, pat their bellies to inform the huddle of officials that they're eligible while they're actually usually an offensive lineman. It's ridiculous. Just have them eligible or not. Don't have this reporting. Don't have this belly rubbing to inform, via ridiculous sign language. Just it's crazy.
I don't mind that.
No, it's ridiculous.
For defensive purposes, you can't just have guys all of a sudden lining up in spots they're not supposed to be.
Yeah, so make them ineligible, just permanently.
Oh, always permanently?
If you're in the wrong jersey, unlucky, you can't run a route.
I'd be fine with that. Yeah, okay. I can get on board with that now. I thought you just wanted, willy-nilly. Okay.
I'm not proposing the solution. I'm just telling you what's silly.
Okay, fair enough.
Although here I am about to propose a solution. The tuck rule. The tuck rule is one of the dumbest rules in the NFL. It's ridiculous. There is just no way that should not be a fumble. I don't care if you're trying to tuck it away. That's why it should be a fumble. Why is there some special scenario whereby the quarterback gets to have a do-over just because he was trying to avoid throwing the ball?
The tuck rule, they did away with it.
Did they really?
In 2013. It's not on the books anymore.
Excellent. I didn't even notice that. Well, there we go then. Perfect.
That's no longer, just because you're moving forward, you have to be in the act of throwing now.
Excellent. There we go. That was going to be my solution. So the tuck rule has been fixed. Well, that works out beautifully.
So your top 4.
Yeah. Top 4, yes. This one is a bit out there because it can be taken out of context. I think the NFL stance on marijuana is crazy. And I don't necessarily mean smoking weed, which, obviously people do recreationally. But there is a whole field of cannabis derivatives that are clearly medically proven now to be serious things involved in pain management, involved various medical ailment treatments. The NFL as a sporting league could be way out in front of this and actually kind of pioneer the use of this stuff as player aids, as medicinal aids for players, instead of, this crazy stuff that's starting to surface at the moment about, painkillers and various drug abuses that we're seeing within NFL teams because these guys need something to keep them going. The league could be out in front and be the first real league out there pioneering the medicinal use of cannabis-based products.
I always knew you were a hippie, Sam.
I know. It's obvious, isn't it?
No, it really is crazy how much, that Josh Gordon's career is going to be railroaded because he's addicted to smoking marijuana. Like, it's not hurting anyone but himself if you believe in that. It's really, I have a problem with it. But I think that's the thing, is that everybody, when you talk about marijuana, everyone immediately thinks about it recreationally, and you think, it's the conservative, uptight guys that don't like people smoking it recreationally, railing against the guys that do. But I think it's almost missing the point. It is something that you can do recreationally, and there doesn't appear to be any significant downside to doing that. So from that point of view, who the hell cares? But the other side of it is there's clearly some kind of proven and growing science that says it is extremely good in various other different ways that
should be used, should be actually getting involved in terms of medicinal treatments. And they're almost, in certain instances, they're not even the same thing. They just eventually come from the same plant and the same kind of, product originally. But you're not really talking about the same substance.
No, I hear you. I haven't actually done any research into that, so you'd know more than me, but their stance on recreational drugs for the most part, the fact that they're on par with performance enhancing drugs doesn't seem correct. It just doesn't seem like that promotes the right ideas for how both should be treated. But yeah, I mean, if we expect to get our morals from the NFL, like I've said before, probably not where you should be getting your moral compass.
Really? Oh man, I'm screwed.
Breaking. Well, that's it for us. We had a good rules week. Not much going on in the NFL this week. Hopefully some stuff comes up next week that we'll have something to talk about. But we're going to start actually advertise. We're looking for people to advertise with us on the podcast. We've never done it before. We're looking into it. If you guys would like to advertise with us, please email our director of that, chris.hoffer@profootballfocus.com. That is chris.hoffer@profootballfocus.com. We will be back next week. Hope you guys have a good one. Talk to you then.